Hello friends, this is Shelley from Cacao Knits and Knacks. Thank you so much for joining me. In this tutorial, we are going to make this beautiful Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. And yes, his nose lights up. You're gonna love it. So thanks for joining me. I will tell you all about the supplies and the yarn that I used during the video, but also check out the description box below this video for all that information, and I won't take the time to do it here. But please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that so much. And for this particular video, I'm going to point out the fact that I have a PayPal link on my channel. Now, as you know, I give you my patterns for free, and I'm so happy to do so. But having your support in that way also makes a difference in helping me get out all these patterns to you. So if you want to click on that and support my channel in that way, I would really, really appreciate that. So once you have your supplies ready, which you can find in the description box below or by watching this video as we go along, I will share that with you. We are going to make this beautiful, beautiful reindeer. Now, any child will love this for a gift. You know what? Even an adult. And this reindeer will do great in your craft shows. So you're going to want to make them. Thanks again for joining me, friends. I hope you have fun in this video. I'm looking forward to spending this time with you. All right, so I'm ready to start. I've got my 46 needle machine set up. Go ahead and use your 48 needle center if that's what you have. And I'm going to take my first color, the main color, which is Loops and Threads, soft and shiny acrylic yarn in the color Cacao. How do you say that? Cacao? Something like that. So that's what this color is, and it's going to be perfect for this project. So I'm going to get my end here. We're going to bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn feeder. And there it is. And we're going to cast on with the drawstring method, going in front of that first block, behind, in front, behind, in front, behind, all the way around. This row does not count as a row count, okay? Many times people will ask, does your cast on row count? And the answer to that is this part here does not count. We're just setting up our needles for the first row. And before we get to the end, we're going to set our row counter to 0. Oops, past it. Because that next row will be our first row. So it's behind that last white, into the yarn feeder it goes. Let's go very slowly for this first round. We want to make sure those loops go down over the red teeth before that needle picks up the yarn. So far, so good. Full disclosure here, when I got home, I was surprised because I thought I had grabbed Caron Simply Soft yarn. These were all in the same, like right next to the Caron Simply Soft bins, and they are loops and threads, soft and shiny. And so the colors are beautiful. I just hope that they work as well in the machine as the Caron Simply Soft does, and so far I'm seeing that they do. So it should not be a problem. But I'm going to continue going slow until I have some weight that can help pull those loops down over the red teeth. And I'm going to make sure that I take the slack out of my ball, because this is a brand new ball. Oh, you guys, this color is beautiful. I'm holding it in between my hand like that. Give it a very mild tension. And then actually what I'm doing, and like I show you different ways, mostly I show you this way, that this is just a light tension. And then if you move it up to your knuckles here, in between, it's a little bit tighter. But now what I've been finding that I've been doing without even realizing it is if I want a medium tension, I'm just closing my hands like this, and then there's a little bit more of a passageway for it to go through, and it actually gives it a medium tension. But yet I can still feel if there's knots in the yarn, or if it's tight coming out of my ball, or whatever. So for this one, I'm going to use a light to a medium tension, and we're going to knit in this color till we have 110 rows. Okay, once I get my project where it's touching the table, I will come back, and if you're new, you're going to want to see what we do. So once your project starts to touch the table, come back and see what I'm going to do in the next clip. Otherwise, keep going till you have 110 rows. All right, so my work is starting to touch the table. It's actually touching the table. And so it's going to start bunching up like this as it does so. And when it does that, it loosens the tension that's on the inside of these of this barrel here. And that makes it harder for that loop to go down over the needle and onto these red teeth. That's the first reason. The second reason is if you bunch it up too much, one of these loops might fall off the red teeth and then you'll start dropping your row. So we want to prevent both of those. We're going to pick up our tube and we're going to roll it in on itself into what we call a donut, just like that. Do that every 20 rows or so. As it starts to get longer, you just keep rolling, and it just helps a nice even tension around here, and will prevent that loop from falling off those red teeth. Okay, so that's why we do that. I'm on row 64. This is now 65. I'm going to continue around till I have 110 rows, and then I'll meet you back. Just finishing up row 110, watching for that marked divider that I used a black permanent marker to mark to come around, and I'm going to put it in front of my yarn guide there. And we're going to cut off a piece of yarn that goes around our barrel 1.5 to 2 times. And this machine loves this yarn, so it's a win. We're going to take our needle, we're going to pop it onto that yarn tail there, and we're going to do a drawstring cast off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get into my corner here. We got to still knit these two, so put a little bit of tension on there as you do so. Then once you continue on, once that needle drops down, you can take off loop 1 and 2, go straight out, oops, caught on those back ones. Go straight out to the side here, not up, because if you pull up, you'll risk dropping that loop off the next needle, unless you hold it with your other finger, okay? Which, I mean, like this, okay? And until, you know, if you're new at this, it'd be a good idea to put your finger over that next one before you pull up until you get the tension correct, okay? But once you have some slack on the back here, you can take a few at a time. And we're going to remove all of our stitches from the machine. I'm thrilled about this because this color is so rich and absolutely gorgeous. What a beautiful beanie this would make. See, now I can just take off a bunch, hold them on my needle with my thumb, pull them through. I'm using a small metal wool needle for this. I'll have them linked in the description box below. You can look for them. They come in a set of 3 different sizes and they're wonderful. All right, so we have it off the machine. You might get a little bit of shadows here, my friends. I'm sorry if you do. It's getting dark down in my craft room again. Oh, I wish I could figure out the lighting. And we're going to stretch it widthwise and lengthwise. Just like that. We're going to take one end, doesn't matter which end you start with, and we're going to snug it up, pulling that yarn tail, straightening out our edge as we do so. Don't just pull it tight and then tie it off. Make sure that you straighten it out and get it nice and smooth, and then pull it completely closed. We can go ahead, cut this a little bit shorter just to make it easier to work with. Going to place that on my needle. We're going to go around and we're going to reinforce the top by just picking up that first row of stitches, just like that. Now this color yarn might be hard to see, but that's the first row of stitches. I'm just picking them up and pulling, smoothing it out, taking another section and pulling. If you're going to use these metal wool needles, which I'll link in the description box below, they have a nice little loop there that's easy to thread. When you're pulling up on there, don't pull on your needle to pull up, because eventually it's going to pull this little plastic end out. Always just hold your yarn and pull it. So that's just a little tip to help you save your needles a little bit longer. And then we're going to just go a little bit more here and pull. From there, I'm going to pick up couple strands, tie off in a knot. Pull that knot down with my thumb. I'm going to place my hand inside my piece, pop the needle inside, grab it with my hand so that I don't snag the inside. I'm going to pinch the top and I'm going to bring all of that through. So now we have this long piece in half. Pull that through, give it a bit of a yank, and your tail or your knot will come to the inside here. Then you're going to take this other one and you're going to do the same thing. But friends, you're going to make sure, let me just cut that one off too. You're going to make sure that this tail stays outside, okay? Give those a little trim up and fold that so that it's nice and smooth, and there we go. I'm going to go around that top row of stitches on this side as well and secure them. Just reinforces them a little bit. And you're sure that it's going to stay together. This color is amazing. Sometimes my camera doesn't pick up the colors the way I like them to. And then when I, post my video, I'm thinking, oh, I wish I could see the color for what it actually is. And this is one of those colors that is absolutely gorgeous. And I hope you're able to see how pretty it is with the video that I can shoot here. But you'll have to trust me, and you'll have to go out and buy yourself some because, oh, it's so nice. I'm going to pull up that inside one, so it's right up close to this outside one. We're going to take those two tails. We're going to tie a firm knot. Be careful when you're doing this because it can snap fairly easy. Okay, tie a second one, and then I always do a third one. Popping these back onto your needle. We're going to hide them in between our two layers. Just like that. Underneath, between those two layers, pull it out, cut it off, lift up on it, and there you go. We have what looks like a beanie, but we are not done with it yet. I'm going to just smooth that out. Now that we have that done, we are going to take another piece of yarn, one that will go around the circumference of this 1.5 times or so, something like that. And we're going to put that back on our needle. And we're going to make a drawstring closure for this. We're not going to close it yet, but we're going to prepare it. So we're going to take that yarn, once we have this completely in half, just like this, we're going to pick it up and we're going to look at the edge here. We're going to pick up 1 stitch. So that's 2 bars, just like that. I'll put it up like here so you can see it because the color is hard to see. And then we're going to go over a stitch, under a stitch, over, under, all the way around the perimeter of this piece, leaving a bit of a tail there. So under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, all the way around until I meet back where I started. Okay, go ahead, do that, and I'll see you when you get to the end. Make sure that you stop every once in a while and smooth it out just to make sure you've got the very edge there all the way around. There we go, I have that done. I'm just going to pull this through to get a longer edge end on this one side, then I'll open it up again. There we go. Get my rows straightened out a little bit. Doesn't matter where that sits, you can have it on the side there or in the front, whatever you want. We're going to grab one more piece. Once you try to get your rows straight like this, because it'll be easier for the next section. Now I want you to grab one more piece of yarn that goes around a couple of times. It's a little bit longer than the one that we just had. It might just make, or about the same. 1.5 to 2 times. We're going to put this onto our needle. Now I'm going to bring my measuring tape out here, and I'm going to put this on its side because it's easier to get the shot in the camera. And I'm going to show you, this is 11 inches, or for those who need it, it is 28 centimeters. Okay, so I'm going to find the half, which would be 5.5 right there. Okay, 5.5 and 5.5 is 11. So about there is the middle of my beanie, or you can, of my piece, or you can just fold it in half like that. That works too. And then I can see there's where the line was. That's basically where I measured it. I'm going to take this piece of yarn and I'm going to, if this is the center here that I've measured, I'm going to go up 1, 2 rows. Okay, maybe even 3. I want the body to be longer than the head. So let's just see, what did I do? 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go up 3 rows. Then I'm going to pick up a stitch just like that. I'm going to go over a stitch. Pick up a stitch. See, just like that. Over. Pick up a stitch. Go over. Pick up a stitch. You try to stay on the same row without going up or down. Sometimes that's a bit difficult, but we can do it. And then I'm going to just smooth that out going this way so I can see where I'm at here. And we're going to continue on our merry way. Picking up, going over, picking up. And because we knit in the round, when we get to the other end, if we follow this same row exactly without veering off, sometimes just stop and check and see if it looks straight and you'll know. But if once we get around, because we knit in the round, we're not going to line up exactly. We're going to either line up on top or down here, generally up here. But however way it lands, come back and see me when I get to that end so that you can see what I do from there, okay? So I'm going to just continue around. Go slowly, and you know, if you have your rows straight like I showed you to do, it's easier to stay on the same row and to make it straight. See, that's looking pretty straight to me. Straighten that out. And here it is here. But even though it looks straight, sometimes when you get to the other end, you think, oh man, did it ever go off? And that's easy to do too. And if you do, that's no problem. You just take it out, you do it again. You take it out where you went off, where you veered off. But I'm just sticking with you here because I'm almost done. But see how straight that looks? We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out how good I did, guys. Okay, we're gonna come here. Trust me, I've taken this, I think I'm going down now. I have taken this out more than once on different projects to get it going. I think I just went, see how you can see that I went up there, but that's just one stitch, so maybe that will line me up here, so that's okay. And then I'm gonna go. Yeah, that's what it did. See, I went up that one stitch there and I could see it right away, but now it lines me up with here. If you end up down here and you're one stitch over, then on your last one, just go up and line it up and it'll all work out. It's not really going to make much of a difference, but if you want to keep it exactly even when you have your 2 strings here, yarn tails, then that's what you do. You just line it up on the last stitch. We're going to go ahead. We're going to cut one of these off a little bit shorter if yours is long like mine, and we're going to just leave it like that. So here we go. We've got our head and our body. We've got our head a little bit shorter than our body, and that's what we want. We're going to then take our fiber fill, and we are going to stuff our piece. We are not going to tie off any ends because we can't forget to add our safety eyes. Sometimes I get these pieces done and I tie them up and I get them all closed off, and then I think, oh shoot, I forgot to add the eyes. So then in that sense, then I just use the yarn and put them on that way. I have been known to open the top just painstakingly, add the eyes, and then close it back up. But I don't want you to do that. So put your eyes beside you if you have to so that you don't forget them. But we're going to stuff our top and our bottom. I like to stuff it before I pull this tight. I don't like to stuff the head, pull this tight, and then stuff the bottom. I like to do the whole thing. And again, you want to put even stuffing in there. You don't want to stuff it so tight that your rows start to spread apart because that takes away from the look of it. But you want to make sure that you have enough in there. Now, you don't have to fill it completely to the bottom. I did almost, but it's going to come out anyways. But I just want to give you a visual here. It's going to come out because I might have to take some out to get the eyes up in there, or I might not have to. We'll see. I'm just trying to straighten out that fiber fill a little bit. I'm going to take these two I told you to cut it off, and you really shouldn't have, because I'm going to have to add a piece now because I'm going to go around and do my head twice. I think I've got a little bit too much stuffing in there. I'm going to start pulling out just a little bit and pull down from the head. Take this, and I'm going to tie it. Now I took out too much, but that's okay. You know, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get it to where I want my neck to be. I don't want it to be too snug like this. Like, I don't want it to look like there's just two circles on top of each other. I want to give it definition, but I don't want to make it too tight. So I'm going to tighten that, and I'm going to give it a twist to hold that knot so that I can tie it again. And I'm just going to leave it like that for now. Better to do it loose this time, and then the next time around, because I am going to fix these little hills and valleys that I call them, by going around the second time. If this is not long enough, it doesn't really matter, because you can easily add another on your needle, and I will show you that once we get to that point. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to grab our safety eyes. All right, so we're going to continue on. I changed the mat out to the gray one. I think it might help with some of the shadows, but we're going to continue on regardless. We're going to persevere. Okay, so now that I have what looks normal to me, what it's going to be like, we're going to stuff this a little bit more, and I'm going to take this out in just a second. But I have my head the way I want it. And the reason why I stuff my head and my body to do this and then take out the body is because I want to see the transition from the neck to the body. See if I've got my head stuffed enough, and I think I do. So I'm going to take my eyes, and I'm choosing 15 millimeter safety eyes, and I'm just going to set that there, and then over here, see what I think of it. I have to hold this up, sorry, but I think that's perfect. I think it's going to be perfect, because then the nose is going to go right there. And we can put a little mouth there, and we've got our antlers up on top. I think that's going to be perfect. So I'm not even going to touch those from there, because very seldom do I think I get it the first time. I'm going to pull out some of this stuffing so I can get my hands up in there. Is that even with the row? So that's there. It is. Make sure that they're on the same row across. I'm going to take these safety eyes. I'm going to get in there. Actually, I need to take out more. 15 millimeter eyes. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to pop this on. And we're going to really press down hard. They're so hard to get on that they're not going to come off. Oh, okay, I got to stand up and do this. There we go. So I push those on good and proper. Friends, they're not coming off, so don't worry. Don't worry about young kids choking on them or anything. I would not do this if I felt they would come off. They're not going to come off. They're nice and tight. But friends, if you are concerned about it, if you don't have proper safety eyes, and you've bought like from really cheap places where you got them at a great discount and they're not as hard as these ones or as firm as these ones, put a ring of hot glue on there and then attach it to your back of your eye. Oh my goodness. That takes a lot of effort. It's not going nowhere. There we go. I'm going to turn that around, and I'm going to restuff it. Make sure when you're restuffing it that you're taking your hand and you're getting that stuffing to be equally in this seam, because that's how we stuffed it, and then we did this seam. We could either undo this and then stuff it again and then do the seam, because I like how it looks when you do it that way. Or we can just make sure that you're getting it underneath and making a section that goes like from the head to the body. It's not just really, you don't have a stuffed head and a stuffed body. You have that joining fiber that's in there. Okay, so I just work with my hands. I'm just pulling it up and getting it underneath that seam all the way around. Just like that. Getting that in there, then I will pull the end and assess what I have. Of course, you got to play with your stuffing because it is moldable to a certain extent. It really is. And then once it's in the place that you want it to be, it compacts as kids play with it, and as they hold it, it kind of compacts. You'll know that from when you stuffed this to find out where your eyes go, and then you took your stuffing out, your fiber fill was already together in a different form than it was when you first put it in. So there we go. I think that is good. I just got to stand this little guy up, make sure. I think I can put just a little bit more in the body. Again, you do not want the rows to pull apart like this. Then you've got way too much stuffing in there. And I pull my fiber apart. Before I put it in, I'm just going to put a little bit more in the bottom there. Then I'm going to close this up by pulling my yarn tails. I'm going to tie a knot, then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go around and I'm going to pick up the first row of stitches to tie it tight again. And when I get to that part done, I'll come back and see you. Okie dokie. I've got it tied off. I went around, tightened my closure. Now I'm going to tie these two in a knot. 1, 2, and 3. Pop this on my needle. Through that center, under the fiber fill, out the side. Pull up, cut it off, and there we go. We have our body and our head complete, and I love it because the body is just a tiny bit longer, and I think that's perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and hide these two because I'm going to add another one, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick that in there under the fiber, come out. And if you're happy with your neck, you don't have to do the second part. This is generally what I do. If you follow along in my videos, you know that I like to make the neck a little bit smoother. So I'm going to take one more piece of yarn that goes around that length. And I'm going to, you see where the valleys are? I call these the valleys, okay? And these are the hills. We went under and over, under and over, and under and over, and that's what it formed. So I'm going to go underneath the valley so as to lift that up just a little bit. Leave a tail. I'm going to go over the hill, under the valley, over the hill. Just the opposite of what it looks. And we're going to go all the way around, over the hill, under the valley, under the valley, under the valley. It's automatically going over the hill when I go under the valley. I'm going to do that all the way around, and I'll see you when I get there. Having gone all the way around, I can now take these two and I can tie them just a little bit. I'm going to give this a spin because that holds that knot in place. Give it another tie. Look at the difference in the neck. You don't see hills and valleys. You just see a flat. You can't even tell that you have manipulated it there. It just looks so much more professional, so much more even, and that's why I do it twice like that. Okay, so now I'm going to take that yarn tail. Once I tie these off twice or 3 times, however many you like, you're going to put this back on your needle. You're going to hide it in your work. Then, friends, you're going to grab your 22 needle machine. Let me cut this one off a little bit shorter. Your 22 needle machine, and meet me back. Okay, so once we have our 22 needle machine set up, we're going to put our last white and our first black in line with our yarn feeder, and we're going to cast on with our brown with the same color we used for the body. We're going to go in front of that first black, behind. This is the drawstring cast on, in front and behind, and trust me, you're going to want to make this loose. Our 22 needle machines like to give us a little bit of hassle. It should be behind that last white and into the yarn feeder when we do our first row, with some yarns that split easily, okay? And this is one of them. So we're going to set a row counter to 0. We are going to go very slow for that first round. putting a little bit of tension on so that that needle can pick this up. Because it's fibrous, sometimes this nook of the needle likes to get in between those stitches on the first couple of rows. So give it just a little tiny bit of tension. Go very slow so that those loops can go down over the red teeth. See, this one, even though I'm slow, split. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to pick up on that loop and help it over those red teeth. You pretty much only have to do this for the first row. Here we go, second one. And third one. I don't know what it is, friends. I just don't know. It's the age-old question that gets asked because it's only on the 22. It never or very rarely happens on the 46. But lift up, don't lift to the side because you don't want to break your red tooth, right? And it just likes to sometimes give you a little bit of issues that way. Pull that little loop down. There we go. Make sure you have some light tension coming out. That there is no tight tension coming out of your ball. Oh my word. And then we're going to keep going. Okay. Maybe this, there we go. Second row, third row. We're going to do 20 rows. It sails after that. You just put a little mild tension on it, and it helps to keep that yarn under the nook of the needle. And demo machines absolutely love it. It's just the first row and I don't get it, but that's okay. It doesn't take that long. You can have patience for that, I suppose. All right, go for 20 rows. Once you have your 20 rows, you're going to cut your yarn and open your latch, pop that between the last white and the first black. Then you're going to grab your cream color. Okay, so I'll show you here. Loops and threads, soft and shiny in the color cream. We're going to do a jogless join. Pop that into the center, close the latch, then take that yarn and put it on the other side of that white needle. You're going to then grab both of these tails and you're going to knit 4 needles. Then you're going to help these loops underneath the red dividers all the way up to the yarn feeder, well, not this one. And then you're going to take your 2 yarn ends and you're going to pull them away from each other to snug up the tension in those few stitches. There we go. Now we are going to knit 3 of our 10 rows and then we're going to tie our jogless join. That's 2 and 3. Let it go past. You're going to take both ends. You're going to pull them away from each other and in like a quick motion until they slip into place. You just hear it and you feel it. Then you're going to tie that. What that does, because we're knitting in the round, every time we go around to the next row, let me just cut this off and then I'll show you. Every time we go to the next row, our yarn goes above and we start another row, come around and then it goes above again. And by doing this jogless join and pulling on those strands, we're pulling that line down so that when we have our project off the machine, you do not see the division from the join. I'm going to show you this one because I already made one of these feet. Okay, here is the one and you do not see where that join was. You can't see it. I don't even know where it is. It's in there somewhere. But we just lined it all up. So we are going to continue knitting our 10 rows, taking us to row 30 on the counter. This is 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. There we go. You're going to cut your yarn tail, open your latch, pop that between the last white and the first black. Oops, look at the static. Oh my goodness, there we go. You're going to take your brown. Should get my spray bottle out and give one little quick spray and that helps. Pop that in. We're going to do a jogless join. Other side of that white needle. Knit 4 or 5 needles. You're going to help those loops down under the red teeth dividers. We're going to pull away from each other to snug up. We're going to knit 3 or 4 of our rows. This is 2 and 3. That's good. Just let it pass. And we're doing 20 in total. Pull that apart. Give it a tie. Trim it off. And keep going for 20 rows of this color, taking you to row 50. Once we're at row 50, we're going to have our last white, our first black needle in line with our yarn feeder. You're going to cut off a tail that goes around your barrel 1.5 to 2 times. We're going to do the drawstring cast off. Now, some of you might be wondering, after looking at that last piece, I did a flat edge. Why am I not doing a waste yarn at the end here so we can crochet it closed? It's because with such a small piece, you can easily manage closing it in a straight row without using waste yarn and a crochet hook. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And it's just as nice, and you'll be happy with it. So that's why we're doing this, but we're not going to drawstring it tightly closed, okay? I'm going to hold that yarn tail because I still need to knit these two, so I'm going to give it a little bit of tension. Finish knitting, then I'm going to rotate my barrel till my black divider comes just by this little screw, not much farther because this needle's up now. This one's next to come up, and if you go any farther, this needle will come up and pull off your loop before you have a chance to take it off with your needle. So we don't want to go much farther than that. And then we're going to start taking off our loops. Rotate the barrel. I really got to stand up for this. And pull it out to the side. Hold your finger over that next one if you're scared that your tension isn't right and you don't want to risk dropping it off those little red teeth before you get a chance to pick it up. And we're going to then continue on our merry way around our barrel, taking off all of our stitches. You probably couldn't see those last few in the camera because they were on the other side of my machine, but you get the idea. There we go. We have that removed. We're going to make 2. All right, friends, so let me recap. You're going to drawstring cast on. You're going to knit 20 rows of this chocolate brown. Then you're going to do your jogless join. You're going to knit 10 rows of this ivory, do a jogless join, knit another 20 rows. Make 2. All right, lovies, we've got 2 done. You know where I get that word from? From my Australian friend. You know, and I think lots of Australians talk that way. They call each other lovies and love and darling, and I just love that. You Australians have a great way of speaking to each other. I think it's very endearing. So anyways, we are going to take our piece. These are our legs. We're going to take one end, hold it on the inside with our hand that we've put through. Pinch the top, and we're going to bring this in half. Just like that. Okay, you can see where this is going. Now, we could have used waste yarn, then we would have had to have joined all around like this and then joined together. And I thought for this small piece, we're going to do it a little bit differently than that. I've done that on other projects, and it's a good way to do it, but this way works too. I'm going to line up my two where they are, my 2 ends the best that I can here, and then I'm going to smooth this out. There we go. Just makes it easier to have the sides even when we're going to sew it up, and I'll show you in a second. We're going to take that inside one, pop that on our needle. Okay, now what you're going to do, you can push this one down just a little bit if it's in your way. You're going to just, you see that this is the loop that it's coming out of. If we would have used waste yarn, this would have been the loop that we would have looked for on our waste yarn. But all we're going to do is we're going to go across to the other side. We're going to find this first loop here. This is the inside part, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to just join it with that stitch on the other side, pull it through again, and tie a knot. Just because we don't want this piece to gather, we just want to sew it up straight. We're going to go into this next loop that you see here. This is the top. We're going to pick it up, and we're going to go across and pick up that other one. And friends, here's the thing. Don't stress if you can't see these loops very well, because you can just pick up right under here and under there. Okay? That's just another way. And you're just going to close it. All we want to do is close this in a flat edge. But I'm going to pick up these stitches because I can see them pretty easily. I know how to find them. I'm going to go into this next one right here. and right here, pull through. All I'm doing is lightly closing up the inside piece. Fold that up. I'm going to take this next stitch, go across, take that next one, pull through. And I'm going to keep this nice and straight, but I'm not going to gather it. I don't want to pull so tight that it gathers. Bring that around, pick up that next stitch, go across, pick up that one. This saves us the waste yarn. We're doing the same thing, just without the waste yarn. Well, we would have used a crochet hook and done a different join, but it's fine for this project. I always tell you to pay attention to detail, and I believe that, you know, maybe if you did it with a crochet hook, it would be just a little bit neater, which would be paying attention to detail. But I think that this is just another way that works, and I don't think it's any less nice, because when we sew it onto our project, so that's the inside, okay? We're going to, and then I'll explain what I was just going to say in a second. We're going to bring this one up now. We want to keep this one out. When we sew it onto our project, we're going to hide this seam by the way we sew it onto our project. So really, we are paying attention to detail because this will be covered basically, okay? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that straight. I don't want to pull it tight into, you know, cinch it like we would a beanie. If I pulled on this, it would tighten it and close it. So, but I just want it to be nice and straight across and even. Like just measure it up with the sides and make it as even as you can. We're going to just go across, tie a knot just so we can anchor it. Keeping this one out, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the same thing. Pick up that stitch and that stitch. This likes to wrap around the end, so you just want to make sure you lift it up and put it over. You're going to pick up that next stitch, and then I'm going to go into the center, and I'm going to just pick up the edge, the top of that one we just did, just so that it stays in place on the inside. Pick up the stitch on the other side. Bring that across. Coming over, I'm going to pick up this next loop right there. Pick up just the top of the inside one and pick up the next loop on the other side. And we're seaming this close just like that. We're going to do that all the way across, okay? I'm going to pick up this next loop and pick up a little bit from the inside, pick up that loop across. And here's the strand that's here. I'm going to just go a little bit below it because I want to put one in between here. It looked like a little bit of a gap to that next loop, so I'm going to then pick it up, go in there, pick up that one. See how easy this is? And that top looks beautiful. And I'm going to go across, pick up a section from the inside, just a very little piece from the inside. It helps to keep that inside layer snug up to this top layer and it won't sink down. Okay, then I'm going to go into this one, middle, other side, and I'm going to go in between those two stitches again because I just feel it needs to, and across, and then here's my last loop here, and go across. If you miss a loop, it's okay because they're anchored by the yarn that was going through all of them and holding them in place there when we took it off the machine, and there we go. Now we're going to just tie these two together, 1 and 2, keep whichever one is longer, which is this one, and take the other one and hide it in your work. Cut it off, but don't pull so tight that you round off this edge. You want to keep it square the way it is. We're going to cut that off. From there, we're going to take a piece of ivory yarn. One that'll go around our piece 1.5 times. Pop that on your beautiful metal wool needles, which I will link in the description box below. We did these 10 rows for this color. So what we're going to do is we're going to count up. Here's one of my stitches, and the V is down here. The wide part's up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to go into the 6th one. 6. Pull through, leaving a bit of a tail. Then you're going to miss a stitch and pick up a stitch, but make sure it's the 6th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's worth it to stop and just count. It doesn't take long to get around. Okay, and then I'm going to miss this one, go under this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Usually you can just pick up the top and not have to count, but I want this to be perfect because it's a small section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna miss a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go under this one. That's 6. And we're just making a cinch row all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is where I'm paying the attention to detail. 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's basically lined up at the top, but I want to make sure. 3, 4, 5, 6. See, that one looked like it was, I would have probably gone one higher in that one. 5, 6. And one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you've got your cinch yarn. You can pull this shorter one a little bit longer. Cut this off. Don't cinch it yet. We have to stuff it. You're going to grab your fiber fill. We're going to pop it up into that piece. Making sure it's the same thickness as the other one. Let me give this a little pull. I think that's absolutely perfect. I don't want them too full. I want them to be nice and defined, but I don't want them so full that they're like bursting at the seams and they're extremely round. We just want it like that, okay? Then I'm going to take this top. We're going to pop that in there. We're going to tie 1. Oh well, okay. And 2. And 3. And then what I didn't do to that other one, which I'm going to do to this one, and I will do to that other one, just didn't do it yet. We're going to pop one of those ends onto our needle, keeping this one out of the way. We're going to go straight down to the bottom of that row, go straight out to the middle on the other side, pull through. That's 1. Going over is 1, sorry. Go back into that same split space, come out the same space, pull. This is a little short. I'm going to fight with it a little bit. This is 2. And I'm going to do one more. 3. And through, out the same stitch that we went in. I'm going to take this other one. And I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go in this way. Doesn't really matter, actually. 1. Well, it does actually matter. You're going the opposite way as you did before. This is 2, and I'll show you why. 2. I might only get 2 out of this one. If you can get 3 on both sides, get 3 on both sides. That's 3. Then I'm going to take them up into the center. That's why they have to be on opposite sides. I'm going to tie and tie. Pop that back on my needle. Into that work, under the stuffing, out the same color. Don't go up into the brown, because then if it ever starts to peek out, you'll see it against the brown. You won't if it's against the same color. There we go. We've got 1. We're going to do the same thing to this one. I'm just going to attach a piece of yarn to my needle, because I hid those ends, and then as I was making this, I thought, I'm going to add that to this. And we're going to go in, right across, leave a bit of a tail so that I can go the other way, come over, 1, make sure that's in the center, and pull, coming out the same stitch, 2, and pull, 3, and I'll put this other one on. And the reason why I'm doing it double ways, is because I like the looks of being able to see the actual stitch in there, the yarn that wraps around. I think it looks nice. So 1, and you can barely see it, but you can see it. If you did any less, then you couldn't. That's 1, 2, making sure it's coming out the same stitch, and 1 more. 3. I'm going to take it to the top. I'm going to tie it off, and I'm going to hide my ends. Do that to both of your legs. All right, so we have both of our legs done. So nice. We're going to take our piece. We're going to just take 1 leg for now. And we're going to, I'll just show you how we're going to have them though. We're going to put them so that they are like that. Make sure your eyes are being centered, but they're going to be touching at the corners like that. And then you're going to have them so that they're actually spread quite wide. Once I get them sewn on, I will measure from here to here just so you can know. Because when I put the arms on, the arms are going to hang down into the center here. And so we want them to be quite wide. Now they're slipping all over this tray, so I'm going to take them off. I'm going to take that one off. But I'm going to, here's the center, here's where my eyes are. I'm going to follow that down, and I'm going to just hold this where I think it's going to go. And if I place it like that, then sit it up. Okay, then I know it's going to go about there. And I'll measure from the center out too when I get it on, but it's at an angle here. This is slipping on my tray, and I don't have my needle on my yarn, so let me just do that. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. And let me try that again. Just about like that. Oh my goodness, it's so slippery. I'm just gonna do it. Because I know that this is the center at the front, and that's where this point is going to go, but I don't, here's the center here. I'm gonna go off, and it's gonna come at a side, at an angle. I'm gonna squish his head down so I can get this shot in the camera. Then I'm gonna just pick up some of the body. Go from the top down and pick up that edge. So now you'll see how I mean when I said that we're going to cover that seam anyway, so we didn't need to go ahead and use the waste yarn. Then I'm going to pick up some of the body, or you can just pick up the body and then pick up the, or pick up the leg and pick up the body like that. That works too, okay? However you do it will be fine. You just find your best sewing method for you. So I'm gonna just go in like that, pick up the body. Go in at the top, go down, pick up some from the body. And I can't do it holding it so far away from my body, but you get the idea. I'm going to do that all the way across, and this is going to be at an angle. I'm going to sit it up every once in a while to make sure that I've got it going at the right angle. And that is right. So I'm going to finish that one. And then I'm going to do a mirror image of the other one and attach it the exact same way. So once this one is done, which from magic of camera, it is, I got it done. Then I put the other one on, and I attached it a mirror image. And I held it together with the points together like that, and I didn't like it. I thought it needed to be a little bit farther. So there is a little bit of a gap there. And then I sat it up, and it looks like they're really wide, but that's what you want to have, because again, your arms are going to come down and it's going to be just so absolutely adorable. I'm going to do a few measurements here for you, and then we're going to finish up one more thing with the legs. But let me just take this. How do I do this without this sliding? I'm going to do it in inches. So for all of you who want the metric, you have to go find your conversion chart, okay? Because I'm having a hard time holding this. So from this corner to this one here is about 1.5 inches, all right? From the center to the edge here is 1 3/4 inches, okay? And then from back leg to back leg is 4 inches. So knowing those measurements, you should be able to place them the same way if your piece is about the same size as mine and stuff, the same size. Or you're going to just add them until you see that it looks good. And I know my eyes are centered. The legs are even on both sides of those eyes, and so that's good. And it's when I have my legs on and in the place that I want, then I tie off and I hide. Both of these are loose. They're not tied at all. because when you're doing your limbs, you want to make sure that you put both on, make sure they're in your right place, and then you can finish them off. I'm going to go into the edge here. And one more time. I'm going to just tie one, not pull that down with my fingers, but I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go up into my piece underneath the stuffing and out the center of where the leg would be. And just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches up. Then I'm going to fold this up like that. And wherever it meets, which is right here, I'm going to grab about 2 rows, get underneath that stuffing, and we're going to just secure it to our piece, just like this. Just helps to stabilize it and keep it in place. Give that a little knot. And one more. And I can knot this one off because I know my legs are in the right place, so it's going to be fine. And then I'm going to pop that down into that work and out the side, cut it off. I'm going to do that to the other leg. See, it just gives it some support when it's sitting and it stays in place. Go ahead, do that to this one. There we go. Doesn't look like a reindeer yet, but he will. And we've got the legs on. Now we're going to do the arms. Now I'm just going to tell you how you're going to do the arms because it's repetition as to what you did for the legs. I've got one done here. You're going to cast on with a drawstring cast on. You're going to do 27 rows of the brown. Then you're going to do a jogless join and you're going to do 10 rows of the ivory. You're going to do another jogless join because they're so much fun. And you're going to do 27 rows of the brown. Okay, so 27 and 27 is 54 plus 10 is 64. That's what you're going to have on your row counter. So you're going to do 27 rows. Then you're going to do 10 of this, which will take you to 37 on your row counter. And then you're going to do 27 rows of this, and that will take you to, what did I say? 64. 27, 10, 27 rows. Make 2 for the arms, close them off the exact same way we did the legs, and then I will see you back. All right, so here we go. I've got my arms done the same way. This is the longer one, these are the shorter ones. Now I'm just going to show you how I put them on because I did them I sewed them the exact same way I sewed the legs on, picking up a stitch and going around just like this and joining them. So what I did is with my piece up, let's do it on the side here. My eyes are my guide, okay? Then I take it to the top of the head and I go straight down the side. And when you go straight down the side, well, the eyes really aren't the guide for this one, I guess, but well, they are in the sense that you need to have the same distance here and here, okay? But I've basically looked straight down the center here, and I put my edge, the corner of this arm into the neck, and I sewed it on. Then I made it at a slant, just a very slight slant, and it's measuring up with my leg on this side. So when you start in the neck here, you slant this down so that it's even with. Yours might be a little bit different, might be a little forward or a little back, depending on how tight your stitches, how tight your piece is, and you know your tension and stuff was. But mine is lined up right with my leg there. And then I've done that same thing on this other side. It's at a very, very slight angle. Matter of fact, I can probably tell you how many rows. 1, 2, 3 rows over. So from the top here to the top here is just 3 rows, okay? And then it hangs enough to touch the table just like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to seam these 2 arms together. You can leave it like that if you want, but I think that it's going to look nice if we take these 2, line up your row right like that. I'm going to go right into the inside just like that. Leave a stitch there. Then I'm going to go on this side. And I'm going to pick up a section, bring that through. I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to tie them. Just like so. Tie a knot. You don't have to do it twice. You can if you want, but you really don't have to. And tie it twice. I'm going to hide my ends, and then my arms are steadying themselves at the front there, and my piece will sit. Okay? And I'm going to cut these off hide my ends. Friends, it's coming along. It's coming. We're going to go ahead, grab our 22 needle machine, and I'm going to make the antlers out of this ivory color and the ears out of both colors. This is all the brown I have left, but I should be able to get the ears done with this. And so that means we've done this project with one ball of brown yarn. Okay, so grab your 22 needle machine. We have our Addi set up, and we're going to do our ears first. So let's bring our last white and our first black needle in line with our yarn feeder. We're going to do the drawstring cast on. And we know how to do that already. Weaving in and out. And when it's behind that last white, we're going to put it into the yarn feeder. We're going to change our row counter to 0, or you can just count. With this small amount, it's okay. I'm going to go very slow for this first round, hoping that I don't split any of the stitches. Making sure there's some slack coming out of my ball. Oh my goodness, we made it around without a split stitch. Wow. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Stop when the black divider comes, or the last white and the first black is in front. We're going to cut that off. Open our gate, pop that in between the last white and the first black. We're going to take our brown, pop that in there. We're going to do a jogless join, go to the other side of that white needle, hold both strands, knit 4, help them under the dividers, pull away from each other, both strands like that. I'm doing this fast because we've done it already. And this is row 7, 8, 9. It's clicking on 10, but we got to finish our jogless join. Pull those apart. We're going to tie this. So that's 10. So we did 6 rows of the ivory, and we are going to do 8 rows of the brown. So 8, 9, that's 14. I lost count. So it's 11, 12, 13, and 14. Okay, so there we go. We have 6 rows of our ivory. I'm going to just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me count the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, when you're counting, you're going to pull down and you're going to look under the divider and you're going to count these rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's 2 under there, 7, 8. That's how you count. And I have 6 on there. What we're going to do now is we're going to cut off a tail long enough to go around our barrel 1.5 to 2 times, and we're going to cast off. I'm going to cast off a different way than I did before. This is actually my preferred way. Before I turned the barrel all the way around and then we cast off that way, but I do like this way better. It's just that sometimes I have a hard time getting into this little area that I need to get into to do this, okay? So we're going to turn our barrel, this black needle drop down so that is able to be picked up. That one's ready. We're gonna go some more. We're gonna pick up 2 and 3, pull that through. Oops, that's getting caught there. When you do it this way, then these needles are protecting those other loops from falling off. And so you just have to turn it a little ways, take a few stitches, and then keep going like this. We're going to take them all off. Just like that. Go ahead, make one more. Cast on with the drawstring, cast on. Knit 6 rows, do a jogless join, knit 8 rows. So 14 altogether. Okie dokie. We're going to take those ears. I've done one for you. And we are going to pull the one side. Either side you can start with, doesn't matter. And we're going to find our little needle that's hiding there. And we're going to just reinforce around the top row stitches. Okay, once we have done that, we are going to take one strand, just tie off in one little knot. Pull that knot down with your thumb, pop this into the center, bring it out, pull up on it or hard on it, and that will bring that knot to the inside. Then we're gonna do the same thing to this side. Making sure you're smoothing that out, because see how it likes to curl? You don't want it curled. You want it nice and smooth. Taking that out of the way, I'm going to now go ahead and reinforce the top of this one. Going all around those top stitches. A little bit further. There we go. I don't need to tie a knot off on that one because we're going to tie it right away. You're going to pinch it in half like a pancake. You're going to pull up on that inside one, just so it's up nice and close to this outside one. Well, this is the inside actually, but so the two are up close to each other. You're going to take these and you're going to tie a firm knot. One more. You're going to take this ivory one, you're going to hide it in your work, and you're going to cut it off. Taking that needle, we're going to place it on the other end. We're going to go into the center and bring it up to the side wall of your piece, just like that. Then you have to fasten it off to secure it, just like we do all the other times that I've shown you how to do this. Okay, that way when you pull on it, it's not going to gather in there. We're going to take our piece. This will be the bottom. We're going to find that center is right there, and we're going to fold up. Put your thumb on the center and then fold up. And you're going to stitch up to about where you just folded. It comes just below that center space there. So all you're going to do is you're going to pick up on either side and then come across, pick up the brown, pick up the brown. The next stitch, pick up the brown, pick up the brown. And again, here's our center. We're going to go just below it. Make sure this doesn't loop around here and give you a big knot. And let me just check that out. I think that's good. Yeah, that's good. So what you're going to do now is you're going to just knot this off. You can go back and count how many times I went up, and then you'll see. But if I fold that down, there's the center. So it's about a stitch below center. That's all you've got to do. Then I'm going to take this back down through the seam there, or through the layer. Don't pull on it or you'll gather it, but I'm going to tie off to secure. Now I'm going to get a knot. There we go, just like that. We've got our two ears done. Taking those ears, we're going to push this in, just like that, just a little bit. I'll show you in just a second. I'm pushing it up, and that's going to give me this round effect that's right there. So we're going to take our piece. Here's the top middle. We're going to just go down a little bit, about like that. I'll measure it once I get it done. Then we're going to just pick up on the head, pick up around the perimeter of that round edge that you just did. So here's the center. It matches down with the center of our or the edge of our arm. And that's where we place it. We pick up and we pick up just along that little flat edge that we just made by pushing in the corner. I'm going to go around, pick up from the head, pick up that edge, and pick up and pick up. Oops. This project is going to be, it is causing me to really learn patience because I keep having too short of a yarn tail. And you don't want to know why? I'm going to tell you my secret. I'll tell you the reason why I do is because I hardly have any yarn left in this ball. This is what I'm left with, so I wouldn't have had to be quite so stingy. I was scared I was going to run out, so I was making sure I didn't leave too long a tails. But I'm going to go around and I'm going to continue sewing that. It looks kind of sideways like that, and that's how you want it to. You don't want it up like that. You don't want it straight down. You just want it kind of sideways, and then it'll fall down. And continue seaming all the way around, just like so. Once you get this one on, you're going to do the same thing to the other one. Do not tie a knot off and hide your ends until both are on and you see that they're in the same place on both sides, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to continue doing that, and I'll see you back when I have my ears on. Okay, I've got them on and I have them all tied off. I just have to cut these little ends, but I put them lower, and I did make a note in the video so that you saw. But they are 2 inches down on either side. Now let me tell you what that is in centimeters for those of you who like that. 5 centimeters. Okay, so they're 5 centimeters down. That's what it's looking like from the front. Okay, now they look funny without the antlers on, but the antlers are so adorable. We're going to work on those next. All right, friends, we are getting to be pros at this drawstring cast on, knitting, and casting off. We are going to do the same thing for the antlers. It is now time to do those. We are going to drawstring cast on, in front, behind, in front, behind, in front, behind, all the way around. This is our larger antler. Into the yarn feeder it goes. Set our row counter to 0. Go slow on our first round. Friends, I want you to knit 20 rows. 20 rows. Then do the drawstring cast off just as we've been doing it all along, and make 2. Okay, drawstring cast on. Oops, I've got a couple snags here. We're gonna have to fix those as we go along our merry way. I was talking to you and not paying attention, but I'm gonna lift that up just like I had shown you before. There we go. So I'm going to do my drawstring cast on. I'm going to knit 20 rows. I'm going to do my drawstring cast off, and I'm going to make 2. These are our large antlers. All right, so for the smaller part that goes onto the antlers, we are going to take our yarn, if I can find the tail end here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring the last white, the first black in line. We're going to do a drawstring cast on. We are going to knit 8 rows, and we are going to do a drawstring cast off. Okay, I'm not going to stay on camera for you. Make 2. Drawstring cast on, what I just did. Knit 8 rows, drawstring cast off, make 2. Okay. Let's take our pieces. Here's my larger one. Get those out of the way. We're going to give it a stretch. We're going to pull one side closed. And for some of these, where is my needle? Oh, we'll use this one. For some of these instructions, I'm going to just tell you what we're going to do because it's repetition and this video is getting long already. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go around this first row and I'm going to reinforce it once. Go ahead and do that. Then pull this one tight and go ahead and reinforce that end around once. And once you have that done, do it to, well, let's start with this one. Once you have that one done, then on both sides, then come back. Okay, so I have that both done. I knotted this one off and hid my end and cut it off. And now I've got a long tail left on this side. What I did is I've got some of these. Now you can totally leave this out if you can't get some of these. These are like things that you put in your hair and you twist them around and then you wake up in the morning and you have curly hair. You can get them at the dollar store, I'm sure, but I found a whole package full of these at the secondhand store for $2.50. So I bought them and that's what we're going to use. We're going to, but again, if you can't get these and you can't get anything, then you're just going to roll this up like this. Just like that, and follow the same directions that I'm going to do, okay? You might, if you have something that is like a waterproof thing, maybe a piece of plastic or something that you have that's a little bit harder that you can put in there and roll this around to help it stay straight. Maybe even a dowel. If you have a small dowel, you can roll it around that, wooden dowel. But I'm going to use these, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that in there, and I'm going to find the height here, and then I'm going to take my wire cutters. Again, this is optional, but if you have something that you can do like this, then great. And I'm going to cut that, and then there is a wire piece in there. I'm going to take it out because I don't need to have wire. and then I don't want it poking out here and then poking out the side. All I want is for this little round tube. So that's why I say, if you can find something else that will do the same job, then great. If not, just leave it and do with what you have. We're gonna pop that in there. It's like a little pool noodle. It's really what it is. We're gonna roll just like that. I'm gonna put this on my needle. I dropped my little metal wool needle somewhere. I have lots of them, but I'm gonna use this purple one. We're gonna roll this up just like this, and we're going to do the mattress stitch. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna join my end just like this. I'm gonna do it one more time. That's a little wide, Shelly. You're getting a little out of hand. There we go. And just like that. Then I'm going to wrap this around. Don't stretch it too much so that you see the green underneath. You don't want to see that. But I naturally, this fell where my wide part of my stitch is going to the left here. And this is the row I'm going to choose. Line it up so that you have the wide part of your stitch on both sides going to the left. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into this bottom one, the middle of the stitch, pick up that first bar, pick up the second bar. We're going to do the mattress stitch. And I'm going to go, oops, what happened to that? Well, let's just find another one. We're going to go over to this side, go into that first one, pick up 1, 2, and we're going to join that. I don't know that that's tight enough. Then we're going to go, here's where I came out. You see my line there. I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick up 2. I'm going to go in where I came out here. And I'm going to pick up, I didn't go far enough, so I'm just going to make this go over here. I'm going to skip over to that next line. It's okay. And we're going to continue on. Now, being that this is a small piece, you could just go back and forth, picking up 1 bar and 1 bar and go all the way down, or 2 bars and 2 bars for a little extra strength and go all the way down. And friends, honestly, it looks okay. It'll look fine. You don't have to be so finicky about the mattress stitch, but if you know the mattress stitch and you want to do it, it is the cleanest way to close this up. And I'm going to continue on down, going in where I came out here, picking up 2 bars. That's 2 stitches, just like that. Going in where I came out here, picking up 2 stitches, just like that. I'm going to do that all the way down. And pick up 2. I'm going to then hold the bottom here and I'm going to pull on this. See how that closed up nicely? It's beautiful. And then I'm going to just take this up here and I'm just going to seam it. And 1 more. There we go. I'm going to bring this up into the center. If I want to bend that, well, it won't bend now because I took the wire out, but if I left the wire in, then I could have actually bent it a little bit. But I think this will just, that's all I want, just like that. So you can manipulate it like that. Now we're going to take the smaller one that we made, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten both, but this one likes to curl up as you cinch it because it's so small. It's the same thing. I'm going to reinforce this around here, reinforce it around here. I'm going to take my little piece here. I'm going to cut it off. Don't need the wire cutters anymore. And I'm going to roll that in there. I'm going to mattress stitch up the side. And when I have that done, I will see you back. Okay, here we go. So here's the first one that I did. And using that little tube thing that I showed you, for this one, I kept the wire in because then I can manipulate it and bend it. But this one, we took it out. You saw me take it out for you because if you don't have the same kind of thing and you just want to put something in there, now I'll show you what you can do to have a little bend on it. Take a piece of yarn, put it on your needle because you don't want it to be just straight up. You're going to go a little ways down, pick up a stitch. I'm going to just tie that off. I'll hide this shorter end, but I'll do that in a minute. What you're going to do is you're going to bend this down just like that, and then you're going to pick up on this side, on this edge, and just sew it. Just go in there and then come up a little bit further and go down a little bit further. And now you've got a bend in it. Just give that a couple seams. Tie this off. This soft yarn is sometimes so hard to manage. We're going to give that a tie, just like that, and then it's got a bit of a bend to it. I'm going to take these and I'm going to hide them into my work. Do the same with this one, cut them off. So I put a few more stitches in here, one a little higher and one a little lower, just so I could get a better bend in there. And here we've got this one that bends out that way with the finger. This one we're going to place on here, and it's going to go this way. Okay, so all you're going to do is you're going to place this where you want it to be. You want them to be fairly even. And we're just going to sew it on. So I'm going to pick up a stitch there, then I'm going to go, instead of going close to the end here, you don't want that because then it'll just flop over. You want to go up a row of stitches, go up as high as that, okay, that you can see in the camera there. That's up one row. Then I'm going to come, see if I can get my hands out of the way. It's such a small piece, it's hard to hold. Then I'm going to come down, pick up some rows, and then I'm going to go up a stitch and sew it on. I'm going to do that all the way around. Pick up another section here, go up a stitch. Just gives you a nicer base line around the bigger piece. It'll hold this smaller piece on a lot better if you do it that way. You don't want to just sew the very tip on. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up a stitch. You see how nicely that's looking? It looks like it's been there all along. Pick up and pick up. There we go. So this one was 8 rows. This one was 20. This one was 8. And if you want to do a third section, you can do another one, which is 10. And I actually did that, but I don't like how it looks. I think, for me, I think it's too full. It would go on this side somewhere just like that, but I'm going to leave it off. But I just want to give you that option. If you do a third one, do it 10 rows. I'm just going to push my little rows together so I don't see the green underneath. We don't want to see that, do we? And there we go. I think that looks good. I'm going to hide my, knot it off, hide my ends, grab my piece. Okay, so there we go. We have this head. We're going to grab this piece. We're going to pop it on in between the center and the ear. And we're going to pick up a part of the head and then go up a row like we did on this piece here. Because if you just grab the very base here, it's going to be flimsy and fall over. So go up one row, then attach it to the head. So in between the center here and the ear, that's where you're going to place it. All right, so I think they look great where they're placed. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie a knot and I'm going to hide my ends and get rid of that. Then we are going to move on to the next part. Oh, he's looking so cute. All right, so now it's time to make our little red nose. So exciting. Bring the last white first black in line with your yarn feeder. Do the same thing you've been doing all along. Drawstring cast on. Oops, don't let your yarn get caught. Into the yarn feeder. Set your row counter to 0. There we go. Go slow for the first row. And I want you to knit 15 rows. This is 2. So you're going to knit 15 rows, and then you're going to do the drawstring cast off like what we've been doing all along. Cut off a tail that goes around your barrel 1.5 to 2 times and remove all your stitches. All right, friends, 15 rows and cast off. Once we have our piece off the machine, we are going to give it a stretch, just like so. I'm going to pull on this one end to cinch it closed, but I don't want it completely closed. We're going to leave a little opening. So just like that. Okay, so we have 2 choices here. I have these little tea lights. They look like this. I just worked it. I put a knife underneath here actually and lifted and lifted and lifted all the way around till it came off, and then I had this little end that's like this. This is going to be in half, but we're going to have this poking out through there. We have to decide. You have to decide whether you want a small little tea light like that. I'm just showing you this before I get it. Or whether you want to buy one that has one of these little flames on it and have that sticking out like that. You can see the blinking more on that, but you get a point, and I'm not so sure I like that point. So for me, I'm going to use this one. So I just wanted to give you those 2 options before we get going here. But what we're going to do is we're going to close this up almost, not completely, because I want that light to fit through that little hole. So I'm going to go around. I wanted to show you the method in my madness before I finished it off. The reason for why I'm not closing it tight. And there we go. Little section more here. I'm going to tie off in a knot. Bring that through. I don't think there's been another video on all. I think I have like 300 videos on my channel. Something like that. And I don't think there's ever been a video where I have lost the yarn off of my needle as many times as we have on this video. It's actually funny. It's ridiculous is what it is. So I'm going to smooth out this other end. We have to leave a little opening here as well. Okay, go ahead and do that same thing. Keeping this yarn tail out, you're going to go around, you're going to close this one just exactly the same way, leaving a very small little opening for your light to shine through. Go ahead and do that. All right, having done that, now we're going to flatten it into like a little pancake. We're going to pull up on that inside one really hard like that, and then we're going to cut that inside one off because we don't need 2 longer ones here. We just need 1 longer one for sewing on. Make sure you cut the shorter one of the 2. We're going to line up that little hole. Let's put something in there. Let's put a little pin in there just so that we don't pull it tighter. And into this side here, just like that. We're going to take these 2. We're going to tie them really tight. So one side is really close up to the next. And I've got a little pin shoved in there so that I don't make the hole tighter. I'm going to cut this shorter one off, even shorter. Now I can remove the pin. I'm going to take this longer tail that we have. We're going to flatten this out. We're going to feed this up the side and bring it to the edge. Don't pull on it because we don't want to gather it, so we need to fasten it off with 1 little knot. Going around this edge, we're going to go under a stitch, over a stitch, under a stitch, over a stitch, under, over, flattening it out, getting the very edge, And we're going to do that all the way around. Almost there. There we go. And now you can see we've got a little bowl-shaped nose. We're going to take our little tea light and we're going to stick it in there. Maybe with a double like this, the other one might be better. But let's see. No, see, I just want a little, I don't want anything major. So I'm going to have that on there. We're going to take our piece. We're going to pop them right onto the face there. And we are going to sew around. Except for we're going to leave a little space open that you can put your finger in there. Here's where my tea light. Do it so that this switch is on the side. Then you can sneak your finger under there and you can turn it on. We're going to have just a very little space that's left open. So I'm going to start sewing. Of course, I cut the long one off, but that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to go right close to the red, pick up a stitch on the brown. Grab the edge of the red and go right close to that edge and pick up the brown. You do not want to see red lines coming up. So you got to go as close to the edge as what you can get. We're going to get halfway to 3/4 of the way around, and then we're going to stop and we're going to assess the situation and make a decision as to whether we put a little bit of fiber fill in there. See how I'm doing that? I'm going to go ahead and do that up to about there. Then I'm going to add more yarn and I'm going to start back here and I'm going to go up to where my finger length is. Okay, that's how I'm going to do it. Once I get over here and tie off, I will join back with you and show you how I'm adding more yarn. All right, so I have it sewn from here all the way to here. I'm going to leave a finger width and my switch is right there. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to add a piece. I'm going to just grab some red there. I'm going to tie a knot and another knot, just like that. I will take this one and I will hide it in between the two layers. Cut it off. And now I've got another strand of yarn that I can use for sewing the rest. So if you run out of yarn, that's what you do. Okay, I'm going to pop this on my needle. I'm going to leave my finger width opening there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew. I left a little longer than a finger width, so I'm going to go back up a little bit, just like this. And I'm going to continue around, and then we're going to shove a little bit of fiber fill in there, I think, once I have this whole thing sewn. Okay, so I'm going to finish going around till I get to this part here. Then I'm going to tie off, hide my end in the double strand, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. Oh, he's so cute. Don't you just love him? I just love him. And there's a finger width here. I can feel that switch right there. I can turn it off and on, but I don't want my light to sink down and get hid. So I'm going to take this little bit of fiber fill, mat it together, and I'm going to pop it underneath that tea light. Push it over to mostly to the other side so you don't have anything sticking out here. Pop that down just like that. And that's going to hold it in place. Oh, so, so, so cute. If your nose seems to be angling down a little bit, attach a piece of yarn, and here's where we do our fine detail work. I'm going to go back in. This is already sewn on, but I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go a little bit higher. Then I'm going to go one row up on my nose, just at the top here. And then I'm going to sew it down. Then I'm going to go back into the head, right close to the red nose, and I'm going to go up one more row. Not grabbing along the edge, I'm grabbing the row below. Then I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to take one row up and I'm going to pull, and that's making this nose point more up than down, and it just looks better. I shut the light off and I let it go. Oh, you guys, kids and adults alike are going to love this glowing nose. How sweet it is. Oh, I love it. There we go. And I'm going to go back down and do one more little section just right in here. I feel like it needs to be done right there. And then I'll go this way. Bring it through. I'm going to tie it off and hide my ends. And that just pointed that nose up a little farther than it was going down just a little bit. So that's how you do it. You just go along the top here, you grab one row higher and you reattach it down, and that will give it a better positioning. All right, it's a new day, friends. And I have some daylight coming in through my window, so I'm very happy about that. We're going to take some of that ivory yarn, place it on our needle, and we're going to do some fancy stitching here. It's duplicate stitching. I do have a video on how to do duplicate stitching. Please look for that in the techniques playlist, but I'm going to do it here for you as well. We're going to find the row where the wide part of the V is going up and the point is going down, and I'm going to go somewhere about there in the middle of the eyes, but a little bit higher. I'm going to bring my needle up, and this is not a duplicate stitching technique video, so I'm not going to go as slow as I would for that. And then we're going to, here's the stitch we came up in. We're going to miss this stitch because it's the one we're going to duplicate, and we're going to go into the one that's above it and take both bars, pull through. Duplicate stitching is very easy. Then we're going to go back down into this point where we came out. But before we do that, now we're going to go up. I'm going to miss this row that we just, we went into this stitch here. I'm going to miss this row and I'm going to go up to this next one, but I'm going to go over one. So I'm going to come in here. I want to duplicate this one here, so I got to come down to the one below it. So I'm going to come down into the one below it, just like that. And when I pull through, it finishes that stitch. And because I'm going to duplicate this one, I'm going to miss it and I'm going to go above it. Just like so. And then I want to go over one more, and I want to duplicate this next one that's right there. So I'm going to go below it, into the stitch that's below it. Pulling that through, finishes that one. And I'm going to miss the one that I want to duplicate and go to the one above it. That's simply how you do it. And then I want to come over and I want to do two more on this side that are mirroring that. I got to turn it this way, sorry friends. And I hope that doesn't confuse you, but it's how I can reach it and still keep it in the camera. So here's the row that I am doing, that I did. Here's the row below. Here's the row that I want to do. So I want to do this stitch here. So I got to come up in the stitch below it. So I'm going to go into the point of that one. I'm going to come up in the stitch below it. See there, I finished that one. I'm going to turn it again. And then this is the stitch I'm duplicating, so I'm going to miss it and I'm going to go up into this one. I'm going to try this with my left hand. I'm going to go down into the point of the one to finish it, and then I'm going to go across. This is the one I want to duplicate, so I'm going to go into the stitch below it, into the center of the stitch below it. And then I'm going to miss that stitch and I'm going to go up one. Actually, I did that wrong because I want to have a row in between. So I'm going to come up, hold this little ear. I'm going to come up into the next row beside it. Just like that. There we go. Now I have a row in between, just like on the other side. And I'm going to pick up this one so that I can go in here. And now I'm going to do a third row. This one I want to do here, and I'm going to do one here, and I'm going to do one there. Now, because I want them in between here. So I'm going to go back down. And you'll find this when you're knitting too, when you're doing work, that you visualize it as you go, and that's wonderful. So I'm going to go back down into here. When you visualize something that you need to do, then just do it. And it's okay if it's out of order. It works. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to go across. I'm going to miss a row. I'm going to go into there. That's why you need a long strand of yarn. You always go above the stitch you want to duplicate, and then you go into it. And then I'm going to go up here and I'm going to do a few more. And you'll see those when I'm done them, and I'll explain to you where they were positioned after I have them finished. But now you have the way to do it, okay? All right, so what I did, I thought I would finish it off with you now, is I am mimicking these three up above. So basically, I've got 1, 2, 3 stitches in between. So then I did the one that was above there. So I'm going to go into here, finish this one off. I'm going to go into this next row. I'm 3 stitches above. So I'm going to go, I have 3 stitches in between. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, go into that third one because it's the stitch below the one I want to duplicate. So I'm into that third one. This is the one I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to go to the one above it. And then I'm going to go back in to that point, out where I went in here, going underneath some stuffing so that you don't see the white. You're going to come out where you went in, take that off from going around the ear there, and oh, isn't that precious? It just makes it look so much more Christmassy. And we're going to tie off, hide our knots. Make sure when you tie off that you don't pull on this because it'll tighten in here. So you make a loose tie on the first one, you tighten the second one, then you hide your ends. All right, friends, so what we're going to do next is we're going to grab our handy dandy Clover Wonder Knitter. If you don't have it, I have the link in the description box below, and trust me, you're going to want to get it. I have the Addi egg too. I never use it anymore because I have this. This works, I mean, I was going to say it takes a little bit longer, but really, when you fight with the Addi egg all the time, this actually doesn't take longer. And it's very, very relaxing. You get no tuck stitches. You have no issues. You just use it, and it works with any yarn. I love this thing. This little 6-peg thing pops off, and I can put one that's got 3 on it, which makes it a smaller cord, but I'm using the bigger one for this. Please find my video on it, watch it, and learn how to use it because I don't have time to show you how to cast on and to teach you how to use this in this particular video. So I'm going to tell you, if you don't have it, then you can crochet a scarf, or you can do whatever you need to do to make a scarf that will go around your beautiful little reindeer. But for me, I made this, and I didn't count rows, of course. I'm just going to measure it up to the top. I'm going to measure it up to here, and it's 17 inches, okay? And so then after I took this one off, I just made this one. I held them up in the air together to see if they were the same length, and when they were relatively close, then I quit knitting. Now, I will show you how I cast off, though. I'm going to cut off a little tail, take this out of my little guide there. I'm going to lift up these little loops. I'm going to grab my loom pick. I'm going to turn this. This strand will be underneath, and I'm doing this fast because I'm showing you in the video. And then I'm going to scoop it up, bring it through, go to the next one. Scoop it up, bring it through. And I'm going to do that to all 6 pegs. Scoop it up, bring it through. And bring it through. And when I get the 6th one done, I always actually go back to the first one and do it one more time just to join the 2 ends. This is 6. Of course, you can put this on a needle and then just take your needle up through the loop to grab it that way too, and that works. This is peg 1. I'm going to, and it doesn't matter when you're knitting, you don't have to count pegs. So you can start on essentially peg 1 and finish on peg 3 if that's what it is. You don't have to mark your pegs on this. And then I'm going to just remove these. You stop when you stop. And taking that off, all you do is you pull this and that knots it. You take the other end, you pull it, and that knots it. All I'm going to do, put this on my needle, hide it into my work, and I'll meet you back. Just a little note here. You have to make a little knot in the end. Just like that before you hide it. Not just secures it. thought I better put that on there in case nobody watches the other video. And then you say, why is this coming undone? Okay, I'm gonna do that to the other side as well. All right, everyone, so this is the last thing that we're going to do. We're going to make 2 pom-poms. I held 1 strand of each color together and I used my clover pom-pom maker. This is the smallest one. It has a number 35 on the back for reference. I buy a set of 4 and this is the smallest in the 4. I'll link those down in the description box below as well. I have a video how to use the clover pom-pom makers on my channel. Please look for that and I'll show you how to use them. We're going to take I fastened this one and I'm going to fasten this one the same way, but what I did is I took 1 strand and put it through the red, 1 strand through the green, then I tied a knot. But once that first one is on, we're going to just take this and we're going to lightly twist it. Now it can easily untwist, but to put it on our piece, it'll stay once it's on, okay? We're going to twist it like that because I don't want any sewing. I just want to make this part easier. And once it's on our reindeer, again, it's not going to go anywhere. So here's my 2 ends. I'm going to take 1 strand, pull it through. Take the other strand, put it through the other cord. Then all I'm going to do is tie a knot and hide my ends. 1 and 2. Put that on my needle. And again, you can twist this scarf when it's, you know, if it was to totally undo right now, you could still twist it. And that would be no problem. But I'm going to cut this off. We're going to take that twisted scarf. We're going to put it on his beautiful little head. And there he is. Turn it on. And friends, I want to tell you, I put a piece of yarn, ivory yarn, on my needle. I went up, I did 1 strand, went across, did 1 strand there, came back out where I went in, tied a knot, hid my ends. I felt he needed a little bit more definition on his face. And there we go. We have our beautiful Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. If you have completed this project, then friends, I give you a firm pat on the back. Way to go, I'm proud of you. And I'm sure you're just loving him. I can't wait to see. Please post in my Facebook group and also post in other Facebook groups and share the link, and that will help others find my channel as well. I would appreciate that so much. All right, friends, thank you so much for spending this time with me. As always, I appreciate you so much. Take care and have a blessed day.